Here it is. So we are going to react to Bonnie Blue. And I'd like to say, I've always said Bonnie Blue understands men better than most conservative women. I have watched this woman on podcasts, right? She is more likable. I don't know the woman she's being interviewed with. I don't know her work. We'll see. But you'll notice that Bonnie Blue is always dressed in a way that's like appealing to men. Her makeup's done, like she doesn't have tattoos. Her makeup's like light, but it's not super. She has light work done, nothing crazy. Her body is kind of what men like. And in her social interactions, what I've noticed is she, while other women want to argue and get offended, she just says, I'm a whore. And she just sits there. And anybody that gets mad or yells at her, she doesn't bicker with them. She doesn't nag them. She just sits there. And you know what? You wonder why I was speaking to someone the other day and they told me they lost their husband to a stripper. And she was like, I was married and I lost, my husband left me for a stripper. And you know, that's a big L in life. Sometimes you just got to eat that. I mean, that's an L. But you got to wonder, what did you do to drive him to a stripper? You know what I mean? And usually it's they got fat, right? Another thing is strippers, men in a way want to be manipulated. They really do. The same way, like when you go into a restaurant, you want the server to be nice to you, even if the server secretly hates you. You kind of want like a baseline level of like niceness and manipulation and to give them extra tips, right? You want to feel like good. And men love that feel. And strippers and a lot of sex workers, hookers, women like Bonnie Blue, they've studied men in a way that conservative women have a tendency, you would have noticed, they don't really pay attention as much, or at least the trad e-girls. Like, compare Bonnie Blue to like Candace Owens. Candace Owens is very masculine, right? Her demeanor, the way she talks. She doesn't dress like a whore, and she doesn't bang 1,000 dudes on camera, right? But a lot of guys would look at her and say, I'll take the woman that's nice to me, and I guess she's a super slut, but at least she's nice, right? I think that sometimes the right-wing women, that's why they're kind of known for being stuck up, because generally speaking, the women with good personalities, they tend to either be apolitical or even liberal, right? Because they can get away with that. Where usually the worse the personality, the more likely, just my experience, to be right because they're making up for something. So they got to say the words that, you know, they can't do the actions men like throw it back, gluck, gluck, 9,000. So twerking on that thing, you know what I mean? So they got to go the route of selling purity. Now, that might work if, you know, right-wing, conservative-leaning women had a reputation for being pure, but I gotta be honest, ladies, we suck. Like, we just, you know what I mean? Like, when the right-wing e-girls, like when we have phrases like Catholic schoolgirls, and we know the connotation with that, right? Preacher's daughter. This to me, these connotations, we all know what that means, right? We all know super, like known for being super sluts. And the more you tell women not to do something, the more they want to do it behind your back. That's like our psychology. I'm dead serious. The more you're indifferent, like they can't hurt or phase you. But once women know they can hurt you by doing said thing, that's when women want to do it more, and it makes the sex way hotter. Like, what's better? Like, let's just be real here. What's better sex for like a young woman? The sex that is okay, or the sex that's like, oh, we're not supposed to be doing? You know, we're messed up. Do you know what I mean? So, anyways, my point is this: I don't think there's much control that right wing, left wing, like parents can really have over their kids. I think women are kind of whores from a young age. And once you can't really stop a whore from whoring, and trying to stop her, it's just going to make her want to do it more. Like I heard Alex, I think it was Alex Clark. She was bitching about birth control. I think she had this whole nagging rant about, oh, I was put on birth control at 16. And I'm thinking, well, why your parents have your best interests at heart. I don't know if it was her or someone she was talking about. Why would a parent put a 16-year-old on birth control? Can we think about it? What were you doing that made the parents say, "Oh, we better put her on birth control"? They always want to play so innocent, like, "Oh, I was just this innocent girl who had heavy periods and they put me on birth control." Bullshit! Bullshit! That's bullshit. I mean, just own it. At least Bonnie Blue, what I appreciate about Bonnie Blue is she owns the whoring. She owns it. But you'll see. So we'll start this interview. We'll start it. If you have something to say, put it in the chat also. I don't know how long I'll be on YouTube. I do think if I get kicked off again, that'll be the end of my career because I can't go through another demonetization. I can't. So unless we get enough signups on the website. So if you do like the content, it's $10 a month. If we get enough people on it, then we can be YouTube free. But yeah, I'm happy with this new regime. If we get enough people on it, then we can be YouTube. I'm happy with this new regime, but we'll see. Okay. You said follow her steps, Pearl. Really? You want me to bang 1,000 dudes on really? I mean, it's like you said go for it. I'm just going to play the video. Big data companies know body count better than the 304 can remember. How many people do you have on Audacity now? Not enough, I'll tell you what. And I need to get more people on the website, and then I can put more time into like developing it. But I used to do these weekly like YouTube sessions, but nobody would show up. No offense to you guys, but I would analyze your YouTube channels. If you want to do it again, put it in the comments, but it didn't get a lot of traction.
Louise, why were you interested in sitting down with Bonnie?
I find it really interesting.
See, we are just fascinated by whores. We are.
I think that a lot of it, just having talked to women about doing this conversation, the response from so many women is, I think, something like morbid curiosity.
Yeah.
Like interested in you, confused by you.
Yeah.
And wondering, I mean, the main thing that I'm hoping to learn about you today, because obviously I know about your work, is your psychology, your personality, what it is about you that's led you to do this.
Yeah.
Because I get the impression from having watched interviews with you and so on, that actually, I over the years, I've interviewed loads and loads of women or spoken to loads and loads of women who've been in the sex industry in various ways, whether that's porn or prostitution or brothels, street walking, whatever. And every single case, they've talked about distress, trauma, or...
Yeah, that's bullshit. Okay, so that's when women say that it's distress and trauma of them doing their sex work. That is them marketing to simps who will believe it. They will believe it. It's incredible what simps will believe. They get a woman as hot as Bonnie Blue. It's like the hottest girl they've ever banged in their life. You can't speak reason. Like, the whore will have banged like 3 of their friends, and they're like, "Oh, she's special." You can't. It's incredible once you've seen it. That's why women that are mid hate hot women so much, because they can literally get away with murder. There's things like, I'd consider myself a mid. There's things I've seen hot women do. I could never. I would not have that kind of bias. I've seen hot women get into relationships and marry, 4 different men in the same friend group, and the 4th one married her. Isn't that incredible? That, like, she blew one and was like situationship. He wanted to date her. She said, "No, I'm good." Then she moved on to guy number 2, dated him for like a year and a half, broke up. Then she moved on to guy number 3. He did dump her, but whatever. And then she married guy number 4. Like, do you know how incredible that is? When you're an 8, you could do it. Because the men, they just have a way of rationalizing. I don't know. I know. Redhead mid, Yeah, I know. I mean, I know, you kind of got to know where you are in the world. It's not an insult. Most people are mid. I'll tell you when I knew I was mid. I'll tell you the day I knew. So, Um, I went to the weekend actually had my whole team go to their concert. So like they let us go backstage. It was really cool. My producers got to go. It was so fun. Um, and there was women at this concert that I met. Their whole job was just to be hot and go to these concerts and go to these events. And I knew because I had never been invited. You know what I mean? I guess I was through the show, I guess in this instant, but their whole existence was just paid for. And I just thought to myself, well, I've never had that offer. You know what I mean? That's never, and I think as a woman, especially if you're a young woman, you really got to know where you fall, because men do kind of view you as a price tag. And the worst advice I've seen women, dating advice I've seen given for women, is they tell old women to raise their price, or like, oh, now you got to make them wait 3 months. I'm like, yeah, at 29, 32, that is the worst. 35, you want to wait till marriage now when you're halfway through life, bitch. And I'm like, yeah, you're never going to get a buyer because you're charging. If you were a 9, you could do that. Like Sierra and Russell Wilson, she could re-wait till marriage because she's that hot. When a girl's that hot, you can just demand, like you're a sports car. You are a sports car. You can charge sports car prices. But imagine if you're a Honda Civic and you come in and you're just like, yeah, I want sports car prices. There's just going to be no buyers. If I'm being honest, I see a lot of this is the problem at a lot of I was in like a non-denominational church for like a year and a half, 2 years, and it was all these mid women. Oh my God, all these mid women waiting till marriage. I've never seen so many single women. They just marry the pastor. It's such an interesting, I swear to God, because they go like, they talk to the pastor like he's their, like the pastor has to approve of the men. I'm like, what kind of, so I was thinking about this. I'm like, she really submits to the pastor and not to the husband, because the husband has to go through the pastor to get the mid-ran through women. I was like, this is a terrible way to do this. This is not going to work. And I remember I was on this female retreat and I knew I had to leave this, I was kind of trying to figure out what religion I wanted to be, because I just got out of school and I was like looking at all, like, 'cause I grew up Catholic, and I was reevaluating. And I just remember sitting there and it was like all these 25 to 35-year-old women re-waiting till marriage. And I just thought, that is the worst idea I've ever heard in my life. And there's like a single woman church pipeline, because they get all the family and community from the church. So it's like, why build one with a guy? And usually there's one or two chads in the church. And you either get the demon time chads there or the wholesome chads. So the demon times, I mean, they just run through the whole church. I mean, that's like the guy in the band or whatever. But usually the young chad, he'll just marry pretty much the hottest, purest girl. And that's kind of how it goes. And then all the other women will just, hope he changes his mind. Anyways, this is just what I saw. You could tell me if it's wrong, but yeah, I'm just like, that is the worst. Because I'm thinking, I'm like, let me get this straight. A used car, but you're charging new car. Good luck. Good luck. I mean, this is the problem you get with that, right? The women have no respect for the guys. They really don't. Because imagine if you're a salesman, right? And you gave a guy a bad deal, you just kind of are going to view him as a sucker forever. And do you know what's even worse about these churches? Oh my gosh, the women give speeches about their whoredom. So not only, I swear to God, not only does the guy have to purchase this used car for new prices, but usually the women are a little hotter than they could do in their normal life, so they can get it. Not only does he have to do that, he also has to listen to her give speeches basically apologizing for being a whore. So she has to go in front of the church and give a speech how lost, broken, whatever she was. And then like that's like the new when you get initiated, that's what the girls do. They like come in, talk about how she used to be a whore, and then now I found this husband. There are a few girls that do wait till marriage. There are a few. So that does happen, and I mean allegedly, who knows, but yeah, I'm just being honest here with what I saw, and that was just I was just thinking, you've just increased and you know what, if she's really hot, she can do that. If she's an 8, the guy's like, do you know what? I get to bang these big tits, this huge this small way. I'll do it, whatever. I'll humiliate myself. I don't care. But when you have a girl that looks kind of like this girl on the chat, this is kind of what they looked like, actually. I would say this is like the average. And she's not an unattractive woman, right? But do you know what I mean? That's just a lot to go through. Like, it's kind of like, this should be a discount. This should be like a mega sale. But instead, you've witnessed that as well. I know it's a madness. That's why I say, to be honest, women, like conservative dating advice works for women if you're like below 25. But look, if you're above 25, that ship has sailed. You're cooked. And I got to be honest, you're cooked because dude is going to assume you've at least blown somebody. I mean, come on, like guys aren't dumb anymore. Now men used to be dumb. Men used to be so, oh my God, like 10 years ago, women could say anything because there was no evidence. But the problem is now women got on TikTok and said, yeah, I did whore out, and we have it on camera. So the women that would say that privately before, now it's like recorded on podcasts or whatever. And the men are kind of wising up. They're like, this is the dumbest deal I have ever heard in my life. And this is kind of what's happening. There's like there's kind of a shift.